Hi, I'm Jenny O'Donnell, and I'm going to be doing a 10-part series on how to make beautiful boutique hair bows. Now, first, we're just going to talk about some of the basics, some of the basic materials that you're going to need, and some of the basic types of ribbon and terminology that you need to know before you set out making bows. This is not a craft that you have to be Martha Stewart to make. It's very simple. There is no sewing required. There is really minimal work. It just takes some practice. Once you get the basic feel of how to make the bow down, it's pretty simple. So we're going to talk about some of the basic equipment that you need. I'm going to pull my cam down so that you can see what's on my table. And first off, you're going to need, of course, ribbon. Now, I don't usually cut my ribbon, and I'm not going to tell you what length to make. It's going to depend on the size of the child's head. It's going to depend on how big you want the bow. But there are several different types of ribbon. The ribbon that I use most often is called grosgrain. It is, I'm not sure if you can see that, but has a horizontal, like rigid texture, almost like texturized lines in it. You can also use satin ribbon. Satin ribbon is a little shinier. I rarely make satin ribbons, mainly for formal occasions. I might do like a Christmas satin ribbon. And then another type is wired ribbon. Now, wired ribbon is not really ideal to make hair bows. They're great to make bows for flowers on a flower basket or decorative bows. But whenever you make a bow with wired ribbon and you put it in a little girl's hair, the first time that she bumps up against something, it is going to reform into kind of a weird, ugly shape. Now, there is a good use for this if you really like a design on a wired ribbon, or if you get a really good price of a ribbon. What you need to do is take the wired ribbon and in one end just kind of cut a little piece of it, cut along the side pocket where the wire is, and you're able to find the actual wire, and then I just pull it out, and you have then a ribbon and you have wire, because some of the next materials that you're going to need is a very small gauge wire. You don't want it too small because it'll break, but you don't want it too large either. I prefer wire. Some people use an embossing floss, but I don't like to use the thread. I think that the bows come apart a lot easier. They're not as sturdy to me as bows made with the wire. So you have ribbon, you have wire, you need a good pair of scissors. I like to use a titanium scissor because they don't seem to break down as much. Your wire can be any width. There are a lot of different widths of, your ribbon may be any width. There's a lot of different widths of ribbon, from 1.5 inch to 7/8 inch, 5/8 inch to a 3/8 inch. Those are the main 4 sizes I use. There are varying sizes, but those are the main 4 sizes that I would use, depending on how big your bow you want it to be. Of course, a newborn bow for a newborn child is usually made with the 3/8, whereas my daughter's 6, and a lot of her bows I make with the 1.5 or the 7/8. You're also going to need hardware. There are 2 main hardwares for bows. One of the hardwares is called an alligator clip, and it's called that because it looks like a little alligator mouth. You just push down and it springs open. These are really great for newborns, for young girls with very fine hair. You can even line it to make it hang on to their hair more. I'll still do alligator clip bows on some occasions. If the bow is just a basic 4-loop bow or a small bow, I'll do an alligator clip bow. But now that my daughter is older, I usually use a French clip or a spring clip, and it's the type of clip where you push the 2 buttons on the side and it springs open. I like these because they're a little more heavy duty. They hang on to the hair more. I don't have to worry about sending her off to school and she's lost her bow whenever she comes home, because they usually stay in. The other equipment that you're going to need is a handy dandy glue gun. This is just a cheap glue gun. I got it somewhere, Walmart, Kmart, Meijer, I'm not sure where I got it, and glue sticks. Now I'm using a high heat glue. You don't have to. You can use high or low heat glue. Whenever I first started out, I used low heat glue, and I kind of evolved into using a higher heat glue. And then you're also going to need some sealing device. Sealing device keeps your ribbon from fraying. Now what I mean by that is if you've ever bought hair bows and then after a few months your little girl's ribbon looked like that because the ends were frayed, it wasn't sealed. If you're doing it for home, you could probably get away without sealing it because it's your bows. But if you're doing this, if you're wanting to start a bow making business, you really need to have a good sealant on the end of your bows. Now there's a couple different options. Some people just use a lighter and light the end. I don't like to do that because you tend to get some burn marks. You can also buy liquid sealant, and I don't personally like the liquid sealant that you would buy at a craft store because it leaves a stain on the bow. I use a wood burning tool, and this is something that you could buy again at any craft store or department store with a craft section. And what it is it's the type of tool that people use to engrave into wood. It has a nice little angle at the end. It's very, very hot, very, very hot. If I were to touch this, it could cause severe burns. So I don't even have to touch my ribbon. I just have to get it really close. And since it has that good angle on there, it gives me a nice, good, straight angle on my ribbon without the black burn or the stain at the end. It kind of melts the ribbon into place so that you won't have any frays. Another option that you have whenever you make bows, or another term that you might need to know, my heat sealer's trying to run away from me here, is how you want to cut the ends of your ribbon once you're finished. And there are 2 different ways to cut the end of a ribbon. You have a normal angle cut. And an angle cut is just what it says. It's just in a diagonal angle. Or you can cut it in a fishtail end. And a fishtail end, you can cut a V onto the ribbon. I like to fold the ribbon in half, and then I can just cut an angle. And then that way my fishtail is nice and even. And that is a fishtail cut. So those are just some of the basic supplies that you're going to need, some of the basic equipment that you're going to need to begin making bows. So go gather your things, come back, and we will do lesson 1, building a basic boutique hair bow.